The East African tradition of the Maasai tribe is to greet one another with the words Kasirian and Gera, which is Swahili for, so how are the children? In that community, the well-being of their children is the highest priority. If you are interested in participating in thought-provoking conversations about the well-being of children and families, please tune in every Wednesday at 3 p.m. to Fresh Start Today on 860 AM WNOV. Together, we can save our children. To Fresh Start Today, I'm your host, Jermaine Reed, along with Sean Roby. We have the blacksmith in. He's been with us all month long. This has been a great ride. Dr. Smith, how you doing, sir?
Oh, man, I'm doing great. It's great to be home.
All right. Great. And we have in the studio a very special guest, Mr. Alexander James, who is formerly a part of the foster care system, but he is an entrepreneur, a success story, and we're glad to have him in so he can kind of shed some light on what it was like growing up in foster care, but even more important, how he was able to use his life experience to carve out a better place in society for him today. So we're glad to have him on the show. Our engineer is Mr. Keon, and the audiovisual guy is Mr. Tony Cash. Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Good afternoon.
So we got a lot going on. We're going to open up with our community events and announcements. And if you'd like to join this conversation, we're going to be talking about aging out of foster care. Our topic is On Their Own, Life After Foster Care. And if you'd like to join this conversation, you can call 414-444-5250. 414-444-5250. We would love to hear from you today. So we're going to start out with some community announcement. Now, before we get started, you know what? You know this show only comes on once a week. So there's a lot of world events that happen in between our coming on, right? Our going off and our coming on. Sir. And just in case some folks have been sleeping under a rock somewhere, you know, we have some late-breaking news, real late-breaking, that Prince died. I'm devastated. And not only died, but he died, he was buried in a matter of a couple of hours, and it was over with. But that man produced some amazing music, and you know, it was interesting because when I was 18, 19, I actually had a chance to tour Paisley Park, his home, and out there in Chanhassen, Minnesota, so that was a really great experience. Hanging around with some folk that was connected inside of his camp. But, you know, I hope he rests well. But we're going to start with our community announcements here.
Well, first we have this day in history. 1927, Coretta Scott King was born. Then we have coming up in May 17th, the Color of Child Welfare Conference. It's the only conference in the state of Wisconsin that is geared towards foster children and out-of-home care, talking about fostering to success. We're going to have a lot of presenters, national and local presenters, who are going to be talking about their experience. Most of the presenters have been in foster care themselves, but we do have some other interesting and wonderful folks who are going to be presenting as well. Then on Thursday, May 19th, we have BCDI's 9th annual Shining Stars celebration, and that is going to be talking about some of our community leaders in the community who are doing wonderful things for children and families.
Yeah, I think it's going to be held down at the Grace Center, which is at 250 East Juneau Avenue. And if folks would like to get more information about what's going on, they could call the Black Child Development Institute. Their phone number is 855-653-2234, or you can visit them at www.bcd as in Daniel, I as in Indiana, -Milwaukee spelled out .org. So again, that's going to be on May 19th at 5 o'clock p.m. You don't want to miss it. But let's go back to the Color Child Welfare Conference, because I want to let folks know that if you would like to win 2 free registrations today, you can call 414-3, the hotline number 414-444-5250 when we open up that opportunity. So you might want to write the number down, 414-444-5250. So we're talking about aging out of foster care. On any given day, there are approximately about 400,000 to 500,000 young people who age out of care from foster care. And that term aging out, we're going to explain what that is in a few minutes, but that's almost 500,000 people who are in foster care, young people, on any given day. And approximately, I've seen some research from HUD and also from the Department of Health and Human Services that indicated that anywhere between 25 and 30,000 of those young people age out of care annually. 25,000 to 30,000. And so today we're going to talk about what happens to young people when they age out of care, what that experience is like. And then we also want to know what type of federal legislation is designed to assist youth who are aging out of care. And then we would deal with some of the challenges of aging out of care. Like, for example, homelessness is a big issue with that population, as well as mental health issues. So we're going to have a very good topic. And, of course, we're going to have Dr. Ramel Smith kind of weigh in on the resiliency factor along with Alexander James. So let me introduce my guest. Alexander James, can you tell Milwaukee a little bit about yourself and what your experience was like growing up in foster care?
Yes, sir. My name is Alexander James. I'm currently 25 years old. I grew up in foster care 19 years of my life. So I was born March 29th, 1991. I believe my birth certificate or whatever document I looked at, by March 31st, I was in my first placement. And I aged out at 19 years old, so bounced around a lot. And, it was bittersweet. Bittersweet.
So 2 days old, you were placed in foster care. So you came straight from the hospital.
Yes, sir.
To a foster home. What do you remember? Did you ever meet those first folks that you were placed with, or?
Yeah, I remember them. Actually, I remember small interactions like doing Eskimo kiss. One of the guys, remember the dog got hit by a truck. Remember some, some stuff I care not to talk about on air.
Okay.
But it's not just me. It's
Yeah, right. So let me ask you this: that first placement, how many years did you live with that family?
I'm not sure. I just remember I was young. I remember crying because I had to leave. That's all I remember. They put me in a caravan, and I was crying. I remember I stayed there with my sister. I got one sister from my mother's womb, one sister, two brothers, and I remember I stayed there with my sister. And I remember she left, but I remember I was the last one to leave. I was just crying. I didn't know why. They ain't finna explain to a adolescent why you got to leave. So, but
But do you remember approximately how old you were? Were you like 5? Were you like 10? Were you?
No, I was about. I want to say about 3 or 4.
So you're about 3 or 4.
I remember that.
And were all your siblings in that placement,
No.
or just your sister?
My sister.
Okay. So were all of your siblings though in foster care, and you were just placed in that particular home with that one sibling?
Yeah, everybody was in care, including my mother.
Okay. So it was a generational thing. So your mom had been in foster care, and then it passed down. And there's a lot of statistics out there that show that there's a high incident rate of individuals who are in care in terms of the probability that their children be placed in care. So it's interesting that you brought that piece out because I didn't know. But you had mentioned that you're placed in this home. Approximately from the time you were born, basically, until you were 19, how many foster homes were you placed in?
All right, when I was 18, I was in independent living program. So when I was 18, I was living on my own. But from birth until 17, I'm 25. I've stayed in more places than I stayed in, residentials, more than one.
So different
CATC,
settings.
charter. And I almost forgot about those places. So I'm talking about I'm 25. I've had more than 25 placements in my life. The longest I've stayed in one spot was almost 3 years, and I just went to go see her yesterday. They still married, still live in the same house. They live on 3362.
I'm
sorry, I was going to tell them.
No,
That's love, my boy. Yeah, we not gonna go
They
there
my
now.
people, but it's on the east side.
But
the east side.
obviously, for you to have
Yeah.
gone back to wherever that east side was, that there was a very positive experience with that family.
Oh yeah, because I was off the porch, at 10 years old. I had a lot of freedom.
What does that mean, off the porch? Cause
I wasn't. I had freedom, so I stayed on. I stayed on 2nd and Townsend.
Mm-hmm.
During the summer days, I'd be at Rose Park. Back when Juneteenth really meant something. So this is probably like 2002 when they had the Sprite remix. I was out Rose Park hanging with my friends. I was like the leader. So if we needed something to eat, I had to be the one to go get it. I'm talking about I'm getting jumped 3 days out the week because my life too slick. So I was already had my own freedom, walking to the Grand Avenue Mall with my friends from Locust over there by Fast and Friendly. So what I mean by off the porch was, I had my own freedom. I had my own, I was able to venture off, So not so much selling drugs, how they say, or in the music. I've been off the porch,
Okay,
not like that.
I got you.
Yeah.
And you know what? I think to add to that, it speaks to And I think, Mr. Reed, you mentioned those memories, and certain memories stand out to everybody because we all have certain childhood experiences that really bring us home. And for you to start painting that picture and starting about addresses and restaurants and grocery stores, I think all of our providers out there need to understand that you do not have to go and spend thousands of dollars to create a fine moment with a child that you're caring for.
And I guess that's what I want to ask you. It was one of my questions that I want to present today, but can you share some of your fond memories in foster care?
All right, I got a lot of good moments. Like, all right, I used to go to Clara Barton, and I stayed right across the street. And they used to have these seasonal dances. They used to have a Halloween dance, a Christmas dance, and I had the same move. I used to do my little Urkin, but I used to win. I used to get the little cassette tape.
Okay.
Going to the Brewers game on my birthday. One of my old former foster parents took me there. Shout out to her. And I got a lot of good moments. Just being taught how to be a gentleman. I remember one of my foster parents, I'm still in touch with her to this day. She used to go to the mall, right? Say she go to Mayfair. I don't think they got sliding doors, but she'll go to a mall, and she'll stand in front of the door until I grab it for her, just teaching us how to, teaching us chivalry, how to be, gentlemen and stuff like that. So those moments stick out to me, or taking
powerful.
Initiative. She teach me. I be doing that stuff too. I've been doing that all day. Find some trash on the ground, just pick it up, walk to a little trash, just take an initiative,
So out of 25 placements, 25 different sets of parents or a parenting figure, because you've mentioned that you've been in a variety of different settings,
yes,
like group home settings, CATC,
Child Adolescent Treatment
Centers, and foster homes. How many of those individuals do you still have a relationship with today in terms of those parenting figures?
A few of them. A lot of them I don't remember.
Okay.
Some of them moved, but I still remember the house they stayed in. But if I can't say names, then I won't say names. But I don't know. I got a good report. Milwaukee really raised me, so I'm talking about like I'm some kin in the yard too. Not through blood, but I'm pretty sure some people that how Facebook, somebody who knows somebody. I'm telling you the truth. So Milwaukee really raised me. So I got a good rapport. Either if I never met you before, it's really not to sound braggadocious, but it's like my city. Like I really was raised by Milwaukee,
Let me ask you this, because you talk about community parenting, that Milwaukee raised you, and I think that's really important, especially when you talk about village parenting, community parenting. That's old African tradition. Dr. Smith, you look like you want to say something.
No. I'm just so impressed by Brother James. Just listening to him, talking to him, and it's like sometimes we talk about on this show. It's such a hard topic to talk about foster care, but you see a young brother who has gone through a situation where nobody would say probably was the ideal situation, but yet he found a way to make it something beautiful, to say, what, I had some ups and downs, but I'm going to stay resilient. And I can just share with the audience, like when I first came in, I didn't know him before today. And first thing when he saw me introduce himself to me, stick his hand out, shake it like, like when you talk about a man to a man.
That's right.
And when I was like, oh, I like this young kid already. And then so, listening to him talking, sometimes when a lot of negative things have happened, we want to focus on those. But the things he said, it just touches and warms your heart, because you said you can see what kind of heart he has. He said, these are the things I remain, and it goes back to Brother Roby point to. It's the small things. Winning the dance contest, and you couldn't see it, but he went into his little move real quick. You can see him throwing back, in the day. Going to a Brewers game, those little bitty things. And it's like so many times I think about people in my life when he said Milwaukee raised me. People like a bro I met at the barbershop, or somebody when I was walking through Atkinson Library said a kind word to me and didn't understand the impact of that word on a young child at the time. He took that, and so talking to people when we understand, like, what can we do for foster care, what can we do for treatment care, I hope that the audience has understood, like, the premise of what this young brother said. And he was like, what? Everybody raised me, so what we got to understand is that we raising people even when we don't know it. So when you see a young kid who may be wilding, how you respond to that person could be a positive or a negative for how they respond and treat things, going forward. And then for those foster parents, he said, I remember some, but I don't remember others. But you still remember some of the things that they did, because he said, I can still remember the houses and everything like that. So when I think about him and just talking about the pure village concept, this is when we talk about this in its absolute finest. And when you talk about some of the turmoil that you said you're going through CATC. So getting jumped a couple times because my mouth was a little slick, learning the ups and downs of it. But just and I want to steal your thunder because I know you're going to talk about the resiliency, factor in a little bit. But I think this is like we say, how do we not? What's the answer? What are we looking for? This is the answer right here. So many times we're looking for books. We're looking for the doctor. We're looking for the
right. This is
the expert.
Yes.
So it's like everybody is a living epistle. Everybody is a walking book. And so somebody who's gone through the experience but can tell you the ups and the downs, but can really show you about the upside of it and say, hey, this is how I still came out of it. This is how other people can do. This is what you can do. I mean, that's why I was so quiet. I was amazed and in awe and listening to him, and I'm just really going to school right now.
All right. Well, you know what? We're going to take a break on Fresh Start today, and you can join this conversation by calling 414-444-5250. We'll be right back on the other side of this break.
This is Jermaine reporting from Fresh Start's WBCM studio with breaking news. Black children are flooding the local foster care system. Infant boys and girls coming straight out the womb, which means you probably have a black child in foster care, you are a black child in foster care, you're related to a black child in foster care, or you may even be a case manager or service provider for a black child in foster care. If so, then you don't want to miss the Color of Child Welfare Conference on May 17th. Fresh Start Family Services will host the only conference in the state that convenes to strictly focus on the needs of black children in foster care. This year's theme is Against All Odds, from foster care to success. There will be national and local presenters like judges, authors, educators, politicians, and journalists who were formerly in foster care, and many others. Some of the workshop titles include Black Children's Journey in Foster Care, From Total Exclusion to Over-Inclusion, Psychotropic Drug Dependency in Black Children, Black Single Mothers and the Child Welfare System. There's so much to talk about. To join the conversation, register today for the Color Child Welfare Conference and Recruitment Fair on May 17th. Call 414-351-1100. That's 351-1100. Limited seats available. This is Jermaine signing off from Fresh Start WBCM, Wisconsin. Black Children Matter. Back to you.
Good afternoon. It is 3:26 p.m. in the afternoon, and you're listening to Fresh Start today. I'm your host, Jermaine Reed, along with Sean Roby, Dr. Ramel Smith, and our special guest in the studio today is Mr. Alexander James. We were talking about how there's 400-some thousand youth or children who are in out-of-home care or foster care any given day of the year, and about 25 to 30,000 individuals will age out of care. And when we talk about age out of care, I mean, I know you do a lot with the Youth Advisory Council. Can you talk about a little bit, James, about Mr. James, about what is aging out of care?
Well, aging out of care is when you're no longer in the foster system. They extended my order to 19. So when I was 18, they were telling me, Alex, we're going to extend it to 19, even though I was kind of reluctant to even follow through with it. So it's just like now,
aging out.
Yeah, you're just you're free. You're legal.
16, we call it emancipating, aging out of care.
Right.
You're 17 years old, but then that 18th birthday is coming, and traditionally that's when most youth who are in the system will age out or no longer be under a state supervision. However, there are certain special circumstances where now in the state of Wisconsin, it can go to age 21. That was effective August of 2014. And we're still trying to find out some information about this extension of foster care orders to 21. Go ahead.
Actually, I was a part of that with the Youth Advisory Council. Actually, I was just texting a young lady, but to stick to the script, me and a young man, he's also part of Youth Advisory Council. We drove up to Madison with the young lady. She no longer lives in Milwaukee, but we were testifying in front of these legislators in Madison at the Capitol building and just telling about our experiences as teenagers and why we think it may be a good idea to extend the order. And so how it goes is if you're still in care, if you're, say, 20, 19, and you have an IEP, then you are eligible to have your order extended.
Is that an automatic?
No, it's not for everybody. You have to have an IEP, and you still have to be in school.
Yeah,
an IEP and in school.
Individualized education plan, and that was developed where if you're, no matter who you are, even if you're not in foster care, but if you're up to the age of 21, if you have an IEP, you have a legally mandated right to be inside of the school. So that probably made that easier.
No, the other part to that is that in order to re-enter the system, you have to be, it's voluntary. So a child would have to come back either to the former foster home or group home they were at, so that way they can be connected back to the case management agency who can then reopen that case. But then, obviously, because they're an adult, they have to follow not only the house rules, but abide by particular rules that govern that whole process.
You know, we want to pause this so that we can give folks an opportunity to win a free registration to the Colored Child Welfare Conference. If caller number 5, if you call right now at 414-444-5250, you could win a free registration to the Colored Child Welfare Conference. So we're talking about this whole aging out piece, and I want to quote something from the Deputy Director of Foster Care Alumni of America, Misty Stinsley. She indicated that in her lifetime, she spent 12 years in foster care. She lived in about 30 different placements, so pretty consistent with your experience, which included kinship care relatives, group homes, foster homes, therapeutic homes, psychiatric facilities, and correctional facilities. She indicated that she was always bounced around from one place to the next, and over the years had hundreds of people that were responsible for her. A social worker here, a judge there, hundreds of different people over the years, and yet somehow, even with all of those people looking out for her and taking care of her, she said, I aged out with no family at all. On Tuesday, you're a kid and somebody's there to take care of you. And on Wednesday, you're an adult and nobody's there. Now, with you having been in foster care, and you probably know a lot of young people who were formerly in care, and I'm sure their experiences were different. Do you know of folks who say, like Ms. Stinsley, that, you know, one day you're in the system, you have all these resources available to you and all these supports, and then the next day you're penniless and homeless? Where do you go?
Well, if I could say this woman's name.
Just the first name.
Her name is Pat.
Okay.
When I was a teenager, she would always, she was real hard on me. She's probably the reason why I'm so hard on myself. But she would be like, Alex, when you 18, ain't nobody finna take care of you, dude. I'm talking about she said it in her own way, but that was the concept. Like,
what was her role? I mean, was she a
she
teacher?
was my foster parent.
She was your foster parent.
And I stayed
she
with
was
this woman
honest
3
with you.
times. Even when I wasn't in her care, she was in my corner. You know what I'm talking about? When I was standing at St. Charles, she made sure I had some Christmas gifts. You know what I'm talking about? Stuff like that.
Wow.
So she always drilled it in my head. Like, the same woman who tell me about opening the door for women and take initiative, the same woman who tell Alex, when you 18, ain't nobody finna take care of you, dude. You blase. So, I mean,
Did the folks that was on the team, if you recall, did they think she was being too hard on you, or that she was just the right type of, advocate for you? Do you remember what that experience was like?
well, I know that I was a lot of trouble for her.
Okay.
But as far as her role, I mean, no one's perfect. But she done more good with me than she done harm.
Got you.
So, when I grew up in foster care from the very early days, the foster parents would teach, drill in your head, what goes on in the house stays in the house. We don't trust them social workers. They play the, I don't want to throw the race card around, but I'm talking about,
we
that
have real
really
talk
ain't their
here.
business. So if I'm getting a whooping, I know I deserve a whooping, so I'm not finna go run back, part of no snitching. Just what goes on in the house stays in the house, whether you're in foster care or not. That's not your teacher business. It's not the social worker business.
So let me ask you, so are you saying that there are foster parents who are whooping foster children? I'm just, without mentioning.
No, I'm not saying to date.
No, I'm just saying.
But I got some whoopings.
I believe it is.
No, I know it is, and I can speak because as a counselor that work with children in treatment care, and what AJ bring up is a good point, because it's like some people use use corporal punishment as a form of discipline, and some mean it in love, and sometimes it can have a positive results. And if that's what a person knows and that's their disciplinary tactic and strategy, I'm not saying I agree with it or whatnot like that. That's what they do. And as a kid, and I can speak from there. My mama told me, she said, "Boy, I'll whoop you 365 days of the year if I have to."
And on that
she
leap
was
year,
going for
and on that
that
leap year,
you know what? And sometimes she would beat me where I bleed.
My
Literally.
Lord.
But you know what? I wore sweatpants to school so she wouldn't get in trouble, because I knew nobody going to take care of me like her. And I know, just like Alexander said, what I did, I needed my butt whooped. And it's like, it was one of those things saying, and just to get to that. So even when a foster parent do it, we understand what's the law, but it's one of those things where you say, okay, what's the letter of the law? And what's the spirit of the law? And sometimes when you go with the spirit of the law, you violate the letter of the law. And it seems kind of contradictory in it. But it's at the end of the day, if a child can say, I understand what this person is doing for me, is really trying to help me, then you got to take an ear to it. And then they say it. And even I'll be honest with you, when I hear somebody say it's a secrecy, but it's a form of family, because it's saying this is our bond. They said we know what we doing ain't all right, but this is what we gonna do. And if you share something else, and you think this is bad, just imagine what's on the other side. So it's one of those kind of protective features.
Well, let me ask you this, because I always believe in having honest dialogue with folks. I hate pretentious, phony type people and phony conversations. So in your experience in care, I mean, did you ever experience having been physically disciplined by a caregiver?
Yeah.
And how did it make you feel? I mean, did you feel that it was in your best interest? Did you feel like, what are your thoughts about that?
All right. It's a thin line, okay? Because between discipline and abuse.
Okay.
I've experienced both. I've been a witness of both.
And you've been in care all of your life, so what you're saying is that while in care, you have been abused.
Yes, sir.
All right. Okay. So with that, keep talking. You're saying there's a thin line.
Yeah, it's a thin line between discipline because, you see, all right, with something you don't see every day is an old white lady hitting her dog. You know what I'm talking about? Not in an abusive way, because stop doing that. That's, you don't see that every day. You know what I'm talking about? That's you know what I'm talking about? But all right, that's now imagine that woman kicking that dog. You know what I'm talking about? Kicking him in the stomach.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
That's
for the same thing he just did or something less. You know what I'm talking about?
Excessive punishment for the same.
Excessive force, excessive punishment. Right. So do you think that the right balance of discipline, even talking about physical discipline here, is healthy for children even who are in care?
It depends on the kid. You can't treat it. Yeah, it depends on
that's a great point, because it's like you got to treat everyone different. And I think, like to his point, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but I know I can speak for this from a second. When my mom said that, she also would tell me this in return. She said, "But nobody's going to love you like I love you." And she said, if you think this is hard, just imagine what the world has for you. And that kind of goes back to what you said, what your one foster mother for the 3 years kept saying. When you turn 18, this is what's going to happen. And the cruel reality for us, especially all of us, these 6 black men in this room, you understand that this America was not always built for us. So it's going to be different challenges that we're going to have. So you have to have a different level of toughness, a different level of resiliency, a different fortitude than other people might not have to have. And those tough lessons right there is kind of getting you ready. And, it's kind of archaic. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. But there is some truth to it until we find a better way. And that's what people know. We got to say, okay, if it's happening, how do we just make sure we grow from it? So like you said, it just stays with the discipline and doesn't land into the land of abuse.
Gotcha. So that 18th birthday is coming. We're talking about aging out. Do you recall your feelings and your emotion around the 18th birthday? Because most of us, we couldn't wait till we turned 18. Some of us. and we thought we were real grown and that we can take on the world, but then we still had the support of mom, dad, grandma, uncle, auntie, whatever. When you were about to turn 18, what was your thoughts?
I'm gonna tell the truth. All right, when I was about to turn 18, I was in a good space because at that time I had, I started beginning to pray, because I'm talking about when I was 17, man, I was doing a lot of drugs, being a lot promiscuous, but it was just I was masquerading. The analogy I use a lot of the time, and I say we see. My favorite car is a Cadillac. That's my dream car, Cadillac. And I say if I see a white 2016 Escalade sitting out front, but ain't no engine in it, it's just for looks. You know what I'm talking about? That's how I was. I was masquerading because I was empty. So I had all the swagger. I could play the role. I could charm a woman or I could whatever. I ain't even got some of them skills no more. But end of the day, I was empty. And I felt like, man, it was like, dang, what I'm going to do? I'm talking about I could blow my brains out right now. No, not like that's how low I was, but I had to pray. And
do you think a lot of people who are in the system at 17 feel the same feelings or have the same feelings that you experienced?
Not necessarily. Everybody different. But when I was turning 18, I remember I was in a good space because I remember at the church I was going to, I started going to. I remember when I was turning 18, he had everybody. He had me standing in the front. He had everybody come around and give me some money, like you do an offering. He had everybody put some money in my head. So it did. I was healthy. I was getting my GED because I had dropped out of high school because I had a 0.0, and they still passed me. I mean, that's my fault. But I understand that I was getting set up for failure. Like, if I have a 0.0, say if it's 200 days in the school year, and I only show up for 5, for real, and you still pass me. You know what I'm talking about? I'm already a grade behind. I'm not finna.
So let me ask you, because you're saying something that's so powerful, and I appreciate your candidness.
Right.
One experience that a lot of youth in care have is that they're retained. They're left behind, or they're not passed from one. They fail a grade. And it sounded like you're saying that was your experience. So you had these negative things, but you also had some resilient factors, And I want to talk about, okay, you made some bad choices, you were in some bad spots, but you moved out of that place. How did you move from there to a more healthy place, from a dark place to a lighter place?
I'm telling you the truth. I'm talking about I was at my end. I'm talking about I can't explain it. Like, I grew up fast. I was a late bloomer who grew up fast. You know what I'm talking about? And I could just say it like that. I was a late bloomer who grew up fast, and I'm talking about all I remember. I'm talking about, I'm talking about I felt so low, man. I just prayed, man, and I was crying. I remember I left out the house. Because, you know, when you in Milwaukee, I don't know. It's a lot of people who just don't think beyond their neighborhood. Because I was one of those dudes, like, it's nothing bigger. Like, what's beyond this neighborhood? You know what I'm talking about? Like, I couldn't fathom. Like, mentally, I couldn't. Like,
so in all these places that you're in, these homes and facilities, you know, combination, were they all centrally located? Were you ever sent out of county to live? Were you sent, you know?
When my grades got messed up is when I went to Eau Claire. Because I was staying at St. Charles. They sent me to Eau Claire. They told me a 30-day eval. I ended up staying over there for 10 months. So I had to go through my ups and downs, had to grow, learn some skills. But when I came back, my credits, I was a grade behind in credits because their grading system wasn't the same. They weren't like a real school. This is a residential, co-ed residential facility. So, you know, no matter how well I performed academically, it wasn't a real, these aren't NPS credits. So when I came back to Milwaukee, I was at Hamilton High School, and my grades were they just weren't, you know what I'm talking about?
What type of support did we as a system, and although Fresh Start is not the state, folks who listen to this program, when you say foster care or child welfare, they just throw everybody, public and private organizations, all in the same barrel. So what do you think that we as a system could have done better to help prepare you for aging out of care?
Hey, but you know what I think? I've been thinking about this for a long time. So say I've been in care 19 years. That's a lifetime. Some of these young men don't live to see 19. But I originally wanted to go to Grambling, you know, go for psychology.
Okay.
Now, just say if there was a trust fund there. When I turned 18, man, I got $25,000 to go to school and live my life. I mean, my pops ain't left me nothing. I ain't got no inheritance from him. I ain't got no child support from him. You know what I'm talking about?
And we were your parents. The system really was your parent for 19 years. So your point is if the system remove you as a child and you stay in the system through 19 years of your life, that we should leave something behind to give you as a springboard, you know, to help you get to wherever it is that you're trying to go to.
Now, I'm going to say this and just keep it real. With his grades, they weren't going to look at him. But I had some kids that was in treatment, that was in foster care, and when they turned 18, they did help them with college. So that is some of the things that the state has done. I think, but what he's saying is it needs to be done on a more regular event and where people understand that too, so they could do it. But let me back up, and this goes to your first question. You said what could have done better? Could have done better for you. How many schools did you go to? You talked about just for high school. You talk about Juneau and Hamilton. You were in 25 placements. You're 25 years. So by 19, you're there. How many schools were you at?
I'm not sure. But just to clear it up, I did graduate from MATC last year in May. So I know they got funds for kids who are in foster care. So just the Chafee fund, ETV funds.
Right, ETV fund, yeah.
And the Pell Grant. So I did, you know, they did do me right because, you know, but just saying as far as me age out.
Let me say, because I want you, if you can think about how many schools, because according to the Vera Institute of Justice, it's an organization out of New York. They focus on education outcomes of children who are in foster care. And according to them, every time a child is school's placement is disrupted, they fall anywhere between 4 to 6 months behind in school. On an average, you can have a foster kid in 2016 who will experience 2 to 3 school placement in 1 year, depending if they're disrupted. You know, they're placed in a foster home, things don't work out, they're there for 2 months, and then we place them across town, and that foster parent say, well, I can't transport this child to the current school they're in, so I need to put them in a school that's closer to my house. Then that placement doesn't work out, so then we find out a place in Eau Claire to place this kid. So now he's switched school and he's going to switch homes, and he's living in Eau Claire. So a situation like that kid would have experienced 3 different school placements, which means if they're 4 to 6 months behind, you know what I'm saying, it's kind of hard to catch up.
You know, it's one of the things is we put children in unfair situations. One of the things they were trying to do was like a district-wide curriculum. So if a kid, because not even in foster care, a lot of our children within Milwaukee Public Schools are very transient. I mean, they're moving around from place to place, and they will move different districts, which means they go to different schools. And as far as like that, I mean, we think about it from a summer standpoint. we always say that kids lose so much over the summer, and that goes to your point for the 4 to 6 months behind. Now, it's different for every kid, but the more you do that, they had, and so my thing is not only from an educational standpoint what needs to be done. I want to know, was anything else done to help you as far as to solidify, to have some stability? Because when you live such a gypsy lifestyle where you're moving from place to place, what have we done to help you to say, okay, well, you know what, now I do have my thing, but how do I stay in a solid relationship with the girlfriend? How do I keep this job? Because you're so used to moving. How do you get that place where I feel comfortable in the same spot for 4 or 5 years?
Hey, you know what? I'm talking about that's something I struggle with to this day, stability, staying in one place, even relationships, you know what I'm talking about? But if I answer y'all questions, all I can remember is about 3 elementary schools, Claire Barton, Carlton, and Longfellow Elementary. And but as far as the stability thing, I'm still like that to this day. I don't know. I'm talking about I want stability. I'm talking about I want to just be well-rounded, to be able to care for a woman, to be able to pay my bills and not worry about money, to be just. But then I get to think about that. I'm talking about I take it far, and I get to begin depressed, like, man, I ain't doing as good as well as I am. But I'm talking about, man, I'm sitting here with y'all. You know what I'm talking about? This is a blessing right here. You know what I'm talking about? I was just reading up the paper. I was at Wendy's today. The pastor, he ain't too much my pastor no more. I still love him to death, but he used to travel to Haiti where these people make $1 a day. I'm talking about $1 a day. $1 a day.
And that kind of leads me to this whole thing about what some folk have coined to be post-traumatic growth. But Dr. Smith has enlightened me, said that's not really a clinical term, and what do we call it in a clinical arena?
Well, I mean, there is no term for it in that, but what we just use is our buzzwords. We talk about resiliency.
Yeah.
We talk about the axiom. I think Brother Roby said it was Nietzsche who coined the term. I don't remember for sure, but we all know it. You know, what doesn't kill you make you stronger. I think it was accredited to him. But what they're trying to do at UNC Charlotte when they talk about it is when things have happened from a negative situation, how can we use this to grow? And I'll say this and then bring it back. When you look at who has the highest suicide rate in America, you know who it is? It's old white men. And people say, old white men, how do they have the highest suicide rate? That's because when they're young, they're at the top of the totem pole for everything. You know, they don't understand discrimination. As soon as they get old and they don't have a job because they're retired, so that's a big part of their identity is gone. Your health is gone. Now you're old, so now you're in a different demographic. It's a stress and it's a pressure that they've never had to deal with. So now, you know, the big thing becomes a suicide standpoint. You know, like, I can't deal with this. You know, I'd rather just be dead. This is not my quality of life. But when you've only known struggle and you've known stress, you know pressure, when you deal with it, it's not really struggle or press. So if I'm a Haitian and I'm in the lower bracket and only know $1 a day, it ain't stressing me no more than just regular because this is my whole life. So when you talk about PTG, this post-traumatic growth, what they're saying is oftentimes people who grow up in a state of poverty, in a state of depression, in a state of ill things where most people who've been blessed look at it as obstacles and whatnot. You say this is regular, but then when you start to get some other things, you say, oh, this made me stronger. So, like, now when the lights get cut off, I could deal with this because I could put them right back on. Before, we was getting the lights cut off every day. We wouldn't even, in fact, we even had no lights.
All right. But just to add on what you said, as far as what it has done to me as far as the struggle or just kind of just being counted out, so it got to a point where I don't know my own worth, you know what I'm talking about? Or selling myself too short, even with my business, with my products, kind of not. I'm talking about not to. I'm just
real talk.
All right.
Where
If
your
you guys know about Loud, I'm talking about they'll sell you a half a gram for $10. It take me an hour total to prep the brownies, bake them 30 minutes, cool them off, wrap them up. That's an hour right there.
What kind of brownies you make?
I do all kind of brownies: gourmet brownies, fudge, Oreo, Twix, caramel, walnut.
And the name of your
whatever.
company, because I want to get it, is what?
Sweets by Alex. I got it from a lady. Yeah,
Sweet by Alex. And I've seen some of the pictures, and I'm actually trying to see if we can get your brownies and what is strawberry covered? No, chocolate covered strawberries to see if we can get those featured at the conference. But yes, so you're talking about these brownies, and you know you're saying something about Loud, and so educate me.
So what I was saying, just how dealing with what I'm dealing with, even young women who I'm not supposed to, it kind of it hinders your self-worth, how you view yourself psychologically. And I struggled with this for a long time, you know. And it's like this guy, he take a put it on the scale. It's 0.5. That's not even a whole gram, all right? Put in this bag, this $10 because it's loud. It's all right. It take me 8 minutes to whip up these things, 30 minutes to bake them, 15 minutes to cool them, got to cut them up, got to wrap them up, got to get the wax paper, put them in the pan, package them up. That could cost me an hour right there, and I'm scared to charge $10 for all that work I just did. You know what I'm talking about?
But somebody else done did the other stuff, and they got no problem
went the illegal route, right?
And I saying that, the reason I say that is because I know that price.
Yeah.
So I pay. But then I wanna, I ain't tripping. I don't care about the money because you can get it for $6.
But what he say is just so real. It's just, he talks about social media and so much stuff being on there. I don't know how many people saw it, but it's like a recent photo of Lil' Kim. And she looked like so drastically different. She got crazy skin bleaching, crazy plastic surgery. You couldn't even recognize her. But one of the things that she said that just it just pierced your heart. She said, my daddy never told me I was beautiful. So this is a little girl, and even though she's had tons of success, financial issues is not a thing. It goes back into what he's saying. That's self-love, that's self-worth. So everything what we got to build from a system. If we are,
right.
if these are, the main thing what we got to know is we got to give them love. Well,
so how do we do that? Because I'm saying, because especially for a young man or a young girl who's been in his shoes or who's currently in his shoes. I mean, right now today, what is our responsibility? We have a more responsibility. What is our responsibility? How do we teach them love?
I mean, he said it though, and I think he's proof of it because if he maybe don't have as much love as he wants, maybe just doesn't even know. But you can only give out what's in you. So look at what he's talking.
So what do we need to put in him? That's what I'm saying.
I'm full, baby. I'm sorry.
I can see. You can see he's full of love. That's what I'm saying. He got a lot of stuff. I love it. Well, my question is this, because you said when we was off air, you said I wouldn't have made it. You said, but by the grace of God. Who introduced you to God?
Well, I grew up in church. It's foster care. Like in foster care, you go to church with you kid.
Yeah.
I always believed him, but I didn't know what it meant to be saved. Okay. And right when I was telling y'all, when I was just at the lowest of the low, I just went back to church.
So some foster parent introduced you to spirituality.
Yeah, just going.
Gave you a bridge, gave you a tool, and it came in handy at some point in your lifetime.
Yeah, critical point.
A very critical point. Now, being in 25 different placements, some of them folks probably went to church, others didn't. Some ate pork, others didn't eat pork. Some smoked, some didn't smoke. Some had pets, others didn't have pets. Some knew how to cook, others just didn't really know how to cook. But you had to learn how to adjust to all of these environments. And so now after aging out, that experience, those rapid changes and those degrees of instability have, to some degree, impacted your life. So how have you been able to maintain some sense of being grounded even in the midst of all of these things? Because a lot of that was not in your control. What happened?
That's a great question. And just yesterday, I was helping somebody do some work. I'm talking about working real hard. Then I don't know. I ended up getting some nachos in the same neighborhood, and I just felt, I'm for real, like I felt like I needed to get grounded, like I was just gone in the wind, like I'm telling you, I really needed to feel this. This was just yesterday, so I went back to my old foster home and sat with them. I'm talking about I felt comforted. Then after that, I'm talking about I never went to this church before. I ended up picking up a can, finna take it to the garbage. I seen this old lady walking, or elderly lady. I'll hold the door open for her. Something told me, man, don't close the door. I ended up going in there and just, spending time in church. But that's a great question because it's times where I feel like I don't have like a solid foundation. Like all I got is what I believe in, or I'm standing up. Like sometimes I can't even reflect back. Like, dang, I should have made it through so far. I really got to do this repeatedly just to keep myself in a positive mindset because It's like, man, sometimes you just feel like you gone in the wind. You just gone with the waves. Like I'm all over the place. A lot of people had their swag when they was in middle school. You know what I'm talking about? I was a class clown trying to fit in, So, it's just, I don't know, it just comes with effort, man. It comes with practice.
So let me ask you this now, because I think one of the things you said, Jermaine, was right on point. You said, what can we give them? And we're talking about aging out. So after you age out, what can we give you now, just as like from men to men, but also from a system standpoint, from a community standpoint? What's some of the stuff you said? This is the stuff I need to really make it where I'm not, blowing in the wind.
All right. I'm gonna say respect and just brotherly love, and I'm not gonna just say love because people interpret love in different ways. But one time I was on 48th and Center. I'm walking out the store, and this guy with some long dreads. He was like, "All right, King, you have a good night." And I look at him. I gave him this eye look. I heard that before, the term King, But what he said, it was more powerful. When him calling me king, he said he just looked at me and was like, respect the black man. You know what I'm talking about? And I'm talking about, man, I took that to heart because I'm talking about, we supposed to. You know what I'm talking about? Like, I don't know, man, you probably got, man, I don't know your story. I don't know where you come from, sir. But I got to respect you. First off, because you're older than me. You's a man. You know what I'm talking about? And I'm talking about, we all in the same struggle. I don't care if you, man, I'm talking about, we came out of a womb. You know what I'm talking about? Like, and that's why we killing each other because we don't respect ourselves half the time. So how I'm going to respect you? So, I mean, I feel like it ain't about how much money you make because I done stood next to some people who got money, some people who don't have money. So I'm talking about, I feel like it's more important how I treat the person who don't got no money. Because, you know, they say that could be your angel or.
That's right.
That was me at one point. I'm talking about, I felt bad. I had to really hold my head up knowing that I ain't had no money. I'm standing next to my guy and he racked up. Excuse my lingo, but he's straight financially, you know, on the outside. But on the outside, I ain't got no money. I ain't got no women calling my phone. I'm hurting. I'm just a good person. I'm just Alex, you know. And don't even know how good I got it, you know, because it ain't all about money. But I feel like that's the key thing right there. He said respect the black man. And it's not just men. These young men, too. Half the time, I be calling my little cousins big homie. I'm talking about I'm walking in Walmart, and I wait for the people to go past the little boy. The little boy, he do like he salute me. I salute him back. You know, it ain't no harm there. It ain't no, I didn't give him too much credit. You know what I'm talking about? We supposed to do that. If I had a son, I'd do that to him. And I feel like the respect, because, I mean, we call ourselves kings and stuff, but I mean, beyond that, I'm talking about just respecting each other, man. We might not even talk to each other. You might hate me, bro, but
so
just
in terms of what we can give to you,
them, bro.
In terms
respect.
of what we give you respect, that's important.
Because we need that. Because
Gotcha.
if we don't get it, I'm telling you, that's probably why I didn't. Ain't too many. I've been raised by so many strong black women. I'm talking about out of 10 homes, 2 I bet. This the truth. I ain't lying. So just say 10 homes. Only 2 of them had men in there, and only 1 of them was in his right mind. So this how I grew up.
So 10 homes, and then the others were these different.
This is a snapshot. I'm just giving 20%,
gotcha.
and the rest of my influence came from drug dealers and gang members. Wow. I'm talking my best friend when I was standing on the east side. We was on 4th and Chambers. I'm talking when I got to high school, he was one of the head of the vice lords. You know what I'm talking about? So, and this was my best friend who I grew up with, stealing for him so we could all have something to eat. I'm stealing for 5 people so we could have snacks to eat during the summer days. You know what I'm talking about? So it wasn't no too many black men showing me respect or. You know
Do you think it would have been helpful
Yeah.
if, as a system, we would have identified some homes where there were some black men in those homes to care for you, or do you think that it didn't make a difference?
Well, no, I'm here now, so no, it didn't make a difference. But just, I know that's something that I can say that I lack. Not saying that, oh, woe is me. But I don't have too many interactions except for I had a few mentors, but I'm talking about like consistent because I struggle with being consistent on a lot of different areas as far as the grind, being intimate with just intimate relationships, being consistent, not just sex. I'm talking about intimate, just being.
What about,
you know what I'm talking about?
Employment stability and housing and those kind of pieces?
You know what it is. Like I've had people offer me jobs. I ain't gonna say no names, but I felt like. I love working. I was taught if you don't work, you don't eat. I'm 25. I mean, I ain't got no kids. What else am I supposed to put my strength? I'm supposed to be building something. I'm talking about that's how I look at it. So I'm talking about I done walked away from jobs like, man, I got to do this business, man. I feel like a cop-out, but I love working. So I'm doing odd jobs. I'm doing cutting down trees. I'm helping this man clear out his garbage because he been clear out his garage because he been hoarding for years. So, I mean, just consistency.
So if folks, Mr. Alexander, James, it's been great having you on the show. I appreciate, you had called me out of nowhere. I've never met you before, day before yesterday, when you called me and you had heard a commercial and you were moved by it and you wanted to get involved, get engaged with the Colored Child Welfare Conference on May 17th. And I'm glad you're going to be there, and hopefully we can feature some of these sweets and these treats that you have for folks. But if folks want to get in contact with you and learn more about your business or to support you, how do they do that?
Well, you can call me directly. My phone number is 414-467-5786, 467-5786.
All right. So, again, thank you again for coming in, and to you all, gentlemen, thank you all for your input. And for the listening audience, if you would like to attend the Color Child Welfare Conference, give us a call at 414-351-1100. If you are interested in becoming a quality foster parent, providing quality foster care services, non-abusive foster care service, loving, responsive, culturally responsive foster care services, give us a call at Fresh Start Family Services, 414-351-1100. We're signing off. Be well, be safe. Until next week.